Okay. Welcome to the Woods Hole Film Festival morning chat, the 10 a.m. that started, well, 10:07 chat. We have several filmmakers from a grouping of short films, well, that they've been grouped under the title Worth the Effort, and certainly that applies to all the films that are represented here. They're all excellent movies, and I'm really not just saying that. My name's Tim Miller. I'm a Cape Cod Times, well, former Cape Cod Times, but Cape Cod film critic. Anyway, so what I'd like to do to start this this chat is to maybe go through the movies with the people who are here, and if everyone could introduce themselves. And also at least one of you from each film, you know, describing your film a bit, you know, somewhat briefly, but just to get things rolling a bit. So could we start with, let's see, how about Ryan from Tired Eyes?
Sure. I'm Ryan. The film is Tired Eyes, and the film is just about a small rock band in New York trying to take all their gear from Brooklyn to Manhattan for a show.
Okay, wow, that was succinct. You're the writer-director, right? Okay, and we also have three of the actors who play the three band members. Maybe if you could introduce yourselves too.
Hey, I'm Steven. I played Mitch.
I'm Emily. I play Rose. And
I'm Cecil, and I played Trevor.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, so let's see. Next, we have Miles from Under the Lights. Hi, Miles.
Hi, Tim. So I'm here with Pierce Joza, who's our lead star. And Under the Lights is about a boy named Sam who is so desperate to feel like a regular kid, he goes to prom knowing that the lights will make him have a seizure. And I made this film because I have epilepsy. I've had epilepsy all my life. It affects 1 in 26 people, which is someone in every classroom, every church, every movie theater. And it affects and kills as many people as breast cancer, but it has no awareness comparatively whatsoever. And the worst thing, the stigma for epilepsy is far worse than the condition. And I realized that, you know, if you see a movie about something and if it's empathetic and it provides a point of reference and it's authentic, then it's a whole lot harder to be fearful and afraid. So I decided I really wanted to tell a story that that was meaningful and realistic and accurate, so that you know, the world could have a proper point of reference. And again, Pierce is my star, and he's incredible, and we're excited to answer questions.
Excellent. Pierce.
Everything he just said.
Yeah, really. Ditto, right? Great. Thanks. Great performance, by the way. Okay, so next we have Catherine from Jane.
Hi.
Or Kat.
Kat, whichever. I'm Catherine. I wrote and directed Jane. It's a film about a young woman living in a downtown Los Angeles SRO hotel and suffering from heroin addiction on the day that she receives an invite to her estranged daughter's birthday party.
Okay, thanks. Let's see. Okay, next we have, Bob Burnett from The City Behind Us, the story of the Elmora Troopers.
Hi.
Only documentary, I believe, in this.
Yes, this documentary short, co-directed with Ivanka Swenson, who's going to wave right now.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. She'll be talking too. But our film is about the Elmora Troopers Little League team from Elizabeth, New Jersey, who went all the way to the Little League World Series and kind of redefined what a win is for what sports can do for a city and the people who live in the city. So thanks for having us.
Oh, sure. Thanks for being here. Ivanka? Oops,
Mute,
Muted.
you have to unmute.
unmute.
There
I think I'm unmuted now,
There
right?
you go.
now you're okay.
I'm Ivanka Swenson, and I directed and wrote and produced the movie with Bob Burnett, and thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Oh, thanks for being here. Okay, then we have Michael A. Green from Caddish.
Hi, hello, my name is Michael. Well, I play the bad guy. I think Razit will probably explain about the movie, but we are very, very happy to be on this festival. Unfortunately, in this weird times of Corona, right?
You. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Rizid. Could you introduce yourself too? You're the let's see, writer and producer.
Hi, this is Razit Season. I am the writer, producer, and director Pradesh. And yeah, it's a periodic film. And we see an emotional journey of Ashkenazim, we say Eastern European Jew, who attempts to fulfill his, attempts to visit his mother's grave at her anniversary of death during the Holocaust.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, next we have, we don't have anybody from Beyond Now, is that right? No, okay. And then Feeling Through is.
Yeah, Doug here.
Doug, there
Hi.
you are. Sorry,
Hey.
so many people.
There are a lot of people on here, but you're doing a good job of, we're systematically going through this. This is working. My name is Doug Rowland. I'm the writer director of Feeling Through. We're participating in the festival in two ways: Feeling Through, which is the short film that's part of this block, and also the Feeling Through experience, which is a 90-minute event that I'll explain in a moment. But Feeling Through is a narrative fictional film that was inspired by the first encounter that I'd ever had with the first deafblind person I ever met. So it's, again, a fictional experience inspired by that, but we also documented the process of casting and working with our deafblind actor, who actually we found out in the process of making the film that was the first time that a deafblind actor is starring in a film. So we documented, I partnered with the Helen Keller National Center to make the film, to cast our deafblind actor, Robert. So the Feeling Through experience is a three-part event that includes Feeling Through, this supporting documentary following the journey of working with Robert, and also the search for the deafblind man that I'd met years prior who inspired this whole journey. So you'll have to tune in to find out if we actually find him or not. And then the third part is a panel discussion and Q&A with our deafblind actor. And in this case, that part's always variable. And in this case, we're also have a representative from Perkins School for the Blind, and also the commissioner of the Massachusetts Commission for the Blind, because we wanted to keep it local to Massachusetts, given obviously Woods Hole. And an important part of this too is it's fully accessible. We went around the country doing fully accessible live events prior to COVID, which meant upwards of 50 interpreters and support staff to have as many tactile interpreters needed for the deafblind, stage interpreters, audio description, captions, and now with the live experiences, we have open captions, we have an audio description version, and we also have a stream text link for any Braille users so that their Braille display can hook up to it and make it accessible for them. So a lot of the film is first and foremost, hopefully a heart, something that's certainly, registers with people at a visceral level, but we've also been using it to raise awareness for the deafblind community, a community obviously that's virtually unrepresented in media, as we found having the first deafblind actor in a film, but also to raise awareness about accessibility.
Wow. Okay. Did just to make sure we don't miss this part, did you want to give the information now as far?
Yeah, that would be great. So the
Yeah.
the Feeling Through experience is actually happening on Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Eastern time, yeah. And you can find that it's on the CineSend platform. There's a link. It'll take you, we're hosting it on our YouTube channel. So that'll take you right there. And if in fact, if you click on that link now, you'll find it'll take you right there, and you can click like to set the reminder so that you'll get an alert when it goes live if you find reminders helpful. But it'll be right there. There's a direct link to it, but you can also go to youtube.com/feelingthrough if you're just typing into your browser. And it's 1 p.m. on Monday.
Great. And whoever's watching this, you should definitely make every attempt to see this or experience this. Obviously, I've only seen the movie, but the movie itself is you'll be glad you watched it, as is the case with all these movies. But you definitely want to see this movie. It's great, and you know, to have the opportunity to see the documentary and to be able to do a Q&A with these people involved with the film really would be just a wonderful opportunity. So I think anyone who can catch this, you'll be doing yourself a big favor if you do. So thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
Did I miss anybody?
Yes. Hi, I'm Eva Visco, and I'm with Kaddish, and I played the Rabbitson.
Oh, okay, right,
And
right.
Michael, the bad guy, shot me right in the beginning
my
of the
gosh.
movie. Scared me to death.
Yeah, no, he's an evil guy. Oh my God.
Very realistic. I was very afraid. He did a good job.
He did. He really, oh my gosh. Anyway, oh, well, thanks. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so, sorry. Well, some of you mentioned, talked about this a little bit already. Like Miles, for example, talking about the fact that that he has epilepsy, and one thing that you mentioned, Miles, that I thought was certainly true of your film, but true of a lot of films too. Kat's film and really everybody's is the you know, the movies put ourselves, put the moviegoer inside the head of a lot of people that we might not be aware of at all, what they experience in life, whether you know, whether it's being a heroin addict who's you know, it doesn't mean you just because you love heroin in its way doesn't mean you stop loving your child, and you know, and anyway, all of you, I think, did a wonderful job of, you know, putting us in the heads of these people. I'd like to know a little more, though, about what inspired your, you know, your decision to make these movies, what drew you to the material. Obviously, as filmmakers, you have so many choices of subjects. What was it about this particular subject that resonated with you, and it's like, okay, this is what I want to devote my time to right now? So maybe if we can sort of start again with the Tired Eyes gang. Ryan, if you wanted to start us off.
Sure. I mean, the film came from, I guess, really, I mean, it just came from living in New York, really. And whether it's you or you witnessing someone else on the street have to carry, you know, just a bunch of stuff from one place to another. And just kind of the difficulty of trying to do, you know, anything difficult here, especially with, you know, little resources. In the case of the movie, obviously that's, you know, a band. You know, even in the making of the movie, we were the people carrying things on the street.
Oh, yeah.
Equipment. And so it was just, I think it really came from just exploring, because there's days where you're like, why would anyone live here and try to do these things, if this is kind of like what you have to do every time. And so I think that question is kind of what led to the idea of the film.
Have you ever been in a band yourself?
I have not.
Okay.
Stephen has, and he could maybe speak to that a little bit. But
oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, Stephen, how about you do that if you don't?
Yeah. Funny enough, I play a lot of drums in a few bands. In the movie, I play guitar with Emily and Cecil. But yeah, I mean, that is, to speak true to Ryan, that's exactly how it is. Even not even in New York, but when I lived back down south, taking your equipment and throwing it in a van, getting to point A to point B at a venue, that's a huge part of touring, and all that stuff is very much so like being exhausted and over encumbered with a bunch of equipment and stuff like that, especially if you're not like a huge super rock band with a bunch of roadies or anything like that. Like that's all on you, and you're kind of fitting yourself in that whole world. So it's pretty crazy. It's accurate.
Yeah.
Accurate.
And sleeping in the van if you've got transportation.
Yeah, just trying to make it. Trying to get by on all that.
Yeah. And I mean, as is the case with most good films, I mean, you've got the specific situation, but it does sort of capture a universal too, where, and Ryan, you touched on this, I imagine that all of you filmmakers to some degree can relate to it too, because you have to haul that equipment, but the film equipment from place to place, but also it really struck me that it's a story of what people do for their art. That Emily's character, certainly is like, we're doing this, or there's only going to be X number of people there. I can't believe we're doing this. What's the matter with us? And yet you do it, and it's almost, I think, whether you're a musician or a writer or a filmmaker, you do it sort of because you have to, and so I think anyone involved in the arts or anybody who's following their passion can relate to that, your movie, because it's kind of what it's about on a very, at times, humorous level. I mean, Cecil, your character is just hilarious. What wait, what was it that you left on the subway? Your character?
Hi-hat.
Yeah. Wait, you don't have it?
Yeah.
It's very funny.
Yeah.
And of course, Stephen and Emily's expression when he does that is classic.
Yeah. We had to shoot that like over and over because we'd have to actually leave a hi-hat going to the next station, and they'd have to loop around and come back, and so it's
oh my
funny
gosh
about that.
Yeah. Well, while I have you guys, I do want to ask you also, was it a particularly difficult shoot because you're shooting it on the streets, and how does that work?
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah, it was. Probably the best story to, I guess, speak to that would be,
oh God.
we were shooting the subway sequence, and we really wanted to shoot it on an A train. It would give it enough time, and you've got the old A trains here that there's some new ones with fluorescent lighting, and you got to wait to get kind of an old one that'll look a little better for camera. But we waited at the end of the line for like a non-fluorescent train to come by for maybe an hour. So the schedule was just, really disappearing from us. And eventually we finally saw one train that came by that just had one empty cart on the right train. We were like, that's it. Everyone had, ran and hopped in, and, usually in New York, if there's an empty train, there's a reason for that. And there was a reason this time, which is that it was just filled with poop is what it was.
Yeah, that wasn't acting. That was all real reaction.
And then once we were on, the train was
our
moving.
lives are miserable right now.
Anyway, so there was a lot of that going on in the film and shooting in New York. So.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, just like the characters. Yes. Yeah. Oh, well, thanks. Okay, so let's see, under the lights. Well, Miles, you did mention that you have epilepsy. Pierce, have you had any experience with
No, so the way I like to talk about it is that I first got the script from Miles in, I think, 2018, or was it 2017, Miles, actually. And I got the script and I started reading it, and the word epilepsy came up in the stage direction. And I was so confused. I remember opening a Google search because I had never really heard the word before. I had no prior experience with it. I don't have it. But what drove me to want to do the film is I'm very curious about the human condition, which is why I'm an actor, which is why I want to create and show people what I can do on a screen, creating a character and having fun. And so Miles and I, before I was even officially cast in the film, we had a couple Skype sessions. As I was kind of traveling around the United States at the time, we couldn't meet in person. And we got to go over the script, and I got to play my character, which I ended up, of course, playing, but we got to play with the script. And I had such a fun time just doing that over Skype. And I wanted to delve into who this character was, having no prior experience. So what I did was I spent time with doctors in hospital wings to learn about epilepsy, what it's like. I interviewed people with epilepsy to talk to them. And then Miles was another massive part of my experience. He was able to sit down with me and we could just candidly talk. And with the one day that I remember so vividly it was actually right before we started filming, and Miles sat down, and I'd seen him have a couple absent seizures, which are not grand mal seizures. So they're maybe just a disconnect from reality for a moment. And he said, all right, mimic what you see back to me. You do what I did. And so we sat there for maybe 30 or 45 minutes, kind of just going back and forth, and until I perfected it or in a way that I felt it was genuine and could represent this population respectfully. So, and then we went and filmed, and that was an amazing experience.
Yeah. Wow. That's good for you for putting in that work, doing your homework.
Thank you.
But I guess that's what good actors do, right?
That's what they tell me.
I think I want to say I think Pierce is selling himself a little short. He did months and months of research. He talked on the phone with my mother for hours. Wow. About just unrestricted, full permission to ask the most embarrassing, awful questions. Just he became very, very sort of embedded in the community. And since he's gone on to work on his own documentary about epilepsy, wow. Raise money and speak at Epilepsy Foundation events. And we've sort of given birth to a new ally here, which was great. And the reason that this was such a success is that it was a very risky casting process. It's very, very high stakes because you have a community who stands to, if you do it wrong, lose a lot.
Oh, I bet.
Go from zero to negative. You can offend people. You can take something from someone. And, this is a community that I've met. The impetus for making the movie was that I met, I can't tell you how many teenagers who said, I've never made a friend in my life. Ever. People get kicked out of their families. It's a very similar story to the LGBT community, where they use the phrase in the epilepsy community, coming out of the closet. They say that because it's such a similar, they relate so strongly with that experience. You can lose your job, get kicked out of your family, and there may not be really anything wrong with you. It's just all stigma. So Pierce just really was absolute gift. We worked on it. Like he said, I told the crew, excuse us, Pierce and I are going to go have a seizure. So I stepped aside. We worked on every little muscle movement. I want to throw out there, if I can, I heard the name of the block, and I want to make sure we're right. Our film is in the block. The kids are all right.
Okay.
So everybody make sure to give us a gander.
Good, yeah, and I'm going to say this about every film, and I'm going to represent it here, and I'm going to mean it. But you really want to see this movie. It just and Pierce, you kick butt. You are so good in this role, and so is oh my gosh, the actress who plays opposite you,
Alyssa.
Jarrells or something like that.
Alyssa, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Alyssa actually, I'll just put this in briefly because I know we want to get on, but Alyssa was actually the one who came to me with the script.
Really?
She said, yeah, Miles originally approached Alyssa because Miles had a contact who knew Alyssa.
Yeah.
And I had previously worked with Alyssa on a television show where she and I lived in Canada for 2 years filming that. So we were already pretty close. And it was just, my character's name is Sam. Her character's name is Molly. And first day on set, it was like, we picked up right where we left off. I hadn't even seen her in a couple of months, but still we were able, she made me the best that I possibly could have been. And without her, it would not have been what it was. And so I had a lot of support from every single person, cast, crew, and beyond.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
I believe that. I'm not surprised. You know, the two of you work so well, and if you didn't, obviously the movie just wouldn't be nearly as effective. But it's so you forged this incredible bond that really rings true. It's moving how that. Can I ask you, Miles? And this is a very naive question.
All good.
I don't understand. Of course, I don't understand racism or anything like that. I just don't get it. But why would anybody in a family kick somebody, sort of shun someone else in the family for having an illness?
That's the thing that makes this so difficult. And one reason, unfortunately, that I don't want to put this too much on the community, but we don't hear about epilepsy is that it's so hard to talk about because there's so much fear behind it, because these things do happen all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I won't name a person, but Pierce could tell you that actually shortly after making the movie, he randomly came across a kid who had been kicked out of his family for having seizures, and Pierce took him in and helped him get back on his feet. You know, now knowing so much about epilepsy, you would say the same thing about the LGBT community. Why would you ever kick someone out of your family? And a lot of it has to do with that the understanding of epilepsy has progressed medically. We're nowhere near a cure, but it's progressed medically, you know, recently, but the stigma is still very archaic. People still have very archaic views that a person, you know, has demons in them, or that they're they're too much to deal with. They get cast aside, or you know, it's all a product of just simply not being able to walk in someone's shoes or listen. And I really think that all of that can be done away with cinema specifically, because we've seen it work with other groups that could not climb their way into public conversation. As soon as they had their place in independent film, they launched themselves into then mainstream media, mainstream conversation. And we've seen that so successfully done by the LGBT community. We decided that it's our time. So that was the pitch to the Epilepsy Foundation, and they've been extraordinary in helping us make this happen.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on fighting the good fight. I mean, really. And I think you're right that, you know, anybody, I teach film, and one of the first things I try to get across is that movies are not just entertainment. I mean, they're entertaining, but they're so essential and good for the soul. And in all of your movies, deal with things that are so important and can change lives, but just by creating an awareness and encouraging compassion and empathy. Did as far as the experiences of the character, I mean, I don't know how personal you want to get into this, Miles, but like, but was it like, did you have a similar experience as far as going to the prom, or like how, and also, you know, I know that the main character is very concerned about not hurting his mother because she's so concerned about him hurting himself, or, you know, and how true to your life was that, or was that based, very specifically on your experiences?
Yeah. So what I'd say is that the film is autobiographical in the sense of the sentiment. So I say that the experience of having a disability means that there are things that you will never have, that you then the tragedy is then watching everyone around you do those things every day, and knowing that they'll never know how lucky they are, right?
Yeah.
Knowing that no matter how hard you try, there's certain things that you'll never do, but then knowing that you have to find a way anyway. It's this sort of fight against impossibility. And so I'd say that the sentiment is very much autobiographical. My own relationship with my mother, very, very spot on. But I did go to prom. I don't have photosensitive epilepsy. I can stare into strobe lights. Not that I would ever want to, but what's fascinating about this is what I learned about when writing about this condition. You can't, even when you try to write something dramatic and cathartic and really just out there, you will meet someone who went through that exact same thing. So as a result of, for example, Pierce's fan base of young people, we've started to receive, the film hasn't come out yet, we're receiving fan art every day of kids saying they want to talk about epilepsy or they want to ask about their classmates. And you get people reaching out saying, hey, Instagram, hey, I just wanted to let you know, I went to prom knowing that the lights would make me have a seizure.
Wow.
And I did that. And that has happened a number of times. People have sent me that story. And I realized it might as well be an autobiography.
Yeah.
It might as well be a biopic because people have watched it and said, oh my God, that is me. I did that. And real quick, I just want to throw this out there. I am writing the feature. And so if any of this is interesting to you, or, you want to follow our progress, we are looking for allies. We are hoping to kind of scale this up and make more of a difference. So our website is underthelightsfilm.com, and our social media, if you want to check out the fan art, it'll melt your heart, is Facebook and Instagram at underthelightsfilm. And you can reach me. I answer to everybody. So
Excellent.
Yeah.
No, thanks, Miles. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks to Woods Hole. This is an incredible opportunity.
Okay, let's move on to Jane, another very compassionate film. Kat, first of all, it stars Gail Rankin, who, if any of you are watching Perry Mason, I believe she's the suspect in the she plays the suspect in the new Perry Mason show on HBO. But you would never know it because she looks so completely different in this movie. So, Kat, can you talk a little bit about, what drew you to this material and, why you chose to deal with this?
Well, addiction is something that I've always been really interested in. It's something that has touched the lives of some of my close family and friends. And it kind of always irked me that the way people suffering from addiction are portrayed in film and the media. And it's often kind of painted as the problem in and of itself, never really the result of some other stuff that's happened in that person's life. And I just, didn't they were always this villain character, this painted as selfish and I just like stories about people suffering from that, where they're not the villain, where they've still got other things going on and they're dealing with a lot of stuff, and addiction is really just the tip of the iceberg of the stuff they're dealing with. I worked for a summer, I worked on a needle exchange bus in Austin and met a woman there who told me the story about how she got started on heroin because of back injury, painkillers, the story that is so common. And yeah, stayed in touch with her, and I live next to an SRO hotel in downtown Los Angeles. So Jane's kind of like an amalgamation of that woman and my friend and a couple of people I know. And I thought an SRO hotel is like a environment that I haven't really seen portrayed before. So I thought it'd be interesting to set it there.
Yeah, and you certainly present it rather than a person being defined by this one, like you said, tip of the iceberg. You know, I mean, the story is about you could almost tell the same story with somebody trying to reconnect with their child, and they could have any number of obstacles preventing that, and and it's sort of in a way it's a suspenseful movie because you have no idea, is she going to be successful? I mean, is she going to get there? The bus, and so and very seemingly true to life, and again capturing a universal. Anybody with any who's ever known or has had a substance abuse problem can certainly, I'm sure, relate to something in this film. How did you find Gail to play the character?
Gail was like, I saw her in Glow. She plays the wolf girl, but you again would never recognize her because she looks like a wolf. But she had one. They didn't really use her much in the first season, and then I think in the second season a little bit more. And that she had like one scene, and I was like, oh, she's like the best actress in the whole, or one of the best actresses in the whole show. And they never use her, like criminally underuse her. And I was like, oh, she'd be so good. And I wrote an email to her agent with like a cover letter and lookbooks, and she was my first choice, and she said yes. So she was going to be in LA anyway because she was shooting Glow. So she came and did this on 2 of her weekends in between doing that. So I don't really know how we got her, but yeah, it was very lucky.
Well, I mean, it is a great opportunity for her too, because it's a great part. I mean, talk about if she's being underused in the show, I'm sure it's
they've
locked and loaded.
Now. Yeah, that she has her own storyline now, which I was very pleased with. Yeah.
Great. Well, that again, that's a lot of the things that so many of these movies have in common are how people often want to be different. I mean, like everything from go back to a movie like The Graduate, where it's all about trying to break free from conformity. And it's so interesting how many of these movies where are about characters who would embrace just being treated like everyone else, or being able to live what they perceive as being like everyone else. You have many scenes in your movie where, she's seen parents with their own children, and obviously she could, and you can see that she almost has a natural connection with the kids. I mean, she, you know that she could be a great parent.
Mm-hmm.
Just things have to change a little bit somehow, and one thing I love about so many of these movies is just they're just filled with compassion for people, and very moving. Really, all these movies. So anyway, thank you. That was. Let's see. Okay, The City Behind Us. Let's see, Ivanka, maybe you could start this time about how you and Bob got involved in with this Little League team.
Sure.
Are you a baseball fan?
I am a baseball fan. I wouldn't say that I am the penultimate baseball fan. The project was, when in your life can you say such like a lovely plum project gets dropped in your lap? But it literally was in this case. I mean, it's produced by the U.S. Conference of Mayors and Major League Baseball. Bob works for the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and I think he got to a point in the project. And Bob, I don't want to speak for you, but
please do.
Where he got so close to the material that maybe he got a little stuck. Yeah. And he said he asked for help, and I scrolled through hours and hours of footage, and then filled in holes with my own thoughts on what to shoot, and we took it from there and created a structure with all of this behemoth of the footage we had was exceptional, and the heart really does come from the original interviews that Bob conducted. But that said, I think that your question is what drew me to the material, what as filmmakers draws us to the content that we created for the festival. The boys, I mean, this is a story about underdogs, essentially. These boys, I mean, if I'm trying to make us fit into this group of films, these boys don't necessarily have the same opportunities that other little league teams have. So it's their triumph. So I was drawn to their sheer joy and love of the game, their heart, their tenacity, and then the city's support of that. And that as a documentarian, that was hard because I became very attached to this community in a really meaningful way. I mean, everybody stepped up to the plate to help get it made and get it done. So I would say I was drawn to their commitment and their love of baseball, and it's fun. I mean, they're sweethearts, and you can't help but fall in love with them. So Bob?
Yeah, this film was rooted in a program called Play Ball, that is a co-venture of the U.S. Conference of Mayors and Major League Baseball, where its sole goal is to get mayors and cities involved to expose baseball to kids who never have a chance to play baseball, mostly inner city situations where there are no fields, there's no equipment, there's no recreation facilities. So what we do is we go around the country with this program and set up these events where kids get exposed to baseball. And in 2017, we went to Elizabeth, New Jersey and did it. And the mayor, Chris Bolwaj, who has now just won his 8th term as mayor, who created the field that the team plays on, had the most incredible play ball event with hundreds of kids out, stations, kids playing all over. And we just said, this city is incredible. And then 2 years later, we just stayed in touch over the years. And the mayor called up and said, our Little League team's going to Williamsport. We've made it all the way to the World Series. And we just started paying attention and kind of backed into the story from the end. And as Ivanka said, I went up and spent a few days by myself, pretty much shooting a few things, and then looked at the footage and figured out this story is bigger than what I can do by myself. And I wanted to get somebody who had a new, fresh set of eyes, and Ivanka got involved. And like she said, she got the box of tapes, as we used to say, and came back with a paper script that was just incredible. And we just knew we were rolling, and we just knew we had something really great, and couldn't have done it without her. And I think, as she said, we've all been adopted by Elizabeth, New Jersey, and it's become my second favorite city next to Washington, D.C., where I've grown up my entire life and lived. So, it's, as she said, to tie it into all these other stories, it's just a story of these underdogs who nobody gave them a chance to do anything. And these, parents who get up at 4 a.m. in the morning to go work at Newark Airport waiting tables, and then go home and get their kids to practice day in and day out, and figure out how to make this all work. It's just that's basically the root of the story. And it's just one of those things where the community and the material we got and our ability to work together and share this for a film that was much better than what I ever would have done by myself.
one thing I really, I love this film. I'm a baseball fan and a former Little League manager.
There you go.
Longtime Little League manager. It's on my resume. And boy, it really rings true in so many ways. One thing I love about your movie is that, and even though you guys are you know, here especially, you've emphasized that they're underdogs. You know, underdog sports movies have become such a cliche that I can be kind of cynical about them, especially narratives. But you really kind of underplay it.
100%.
It's like you say, you make it clear that it's a working class environment. You make it clear that you know, that they don't even have a field. They have to have one built so that kids can play there, and they have to have a mayor who's as crazy about baseball as baseball fans can be. And then you kind of leave it to the moviegoer to get it. You don't keep hitting them over the head. Oh, it's the underdog team. This other team has so much money in that. We get that, you know, and that's, and you really focus on the joy of not only the kids, although they're at the heart of it as they should be, but the families, the community, everything, and you really capture what I love about baseball and baseball's potential. And I think you found this incredible story. And you say so much with it too, not to give away endings or anything like that, but there's a certain, it's profound in its way too, certainly by the end. And what I try not to get choked up at movies, but I got choked up watching that movie. And I think you did a wonderful job. Great film.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to Kaddish. Razid, could you talk about what drew you to the material?
Well, this is like not the first time I got this question. Somebody asked, like when I was looking for, funders, financial support. So I got these questions as well because at first they, I would say when I'm motivated, any content, when I think personally as a director or writer, when I think I am attached to this, I belong to this, So I did this because I make films that actually, portrays the minorities, voiceless or persecuted communities. And I personally, think I belong to this. It's not like just some big words, just some theoretical words.
Right.
It could be for someone else or somebody else, but for me, because I belong to this, I have personal experience, So when you see my films, somehow I don't need to be affiliated with specific religion or ethnicity or race, This connects me, when I see your story is my story, when I have a connection to your experience, when I think I belong to you or the community. So I have been, this was a challenging project for me because many things, I'm an immigrant and people see, oh, you have to tell your story. This is very stereotype, tell your story. They judge me, my appearance, you should tell your story. That means your ethnic background or, whatever you have seen. Oh, so this is not your story. So the division, I'm a filmmaker and I think, it is important to tell your story, because maybe you know better. You will be, telling your story more efficiently. But this is what I'm saying when I'm connected. This your story is my story, you know. So we did like you know we did you know we worked hard and to make this, and I went through several agencies to get financial support. Like this film was presented by International Human Rights Commission, and and also founder Mr. Arthur Katz. He's you know the Jewish man, and he was surprised that he looked at my name, because they are actually not you know professional film funders, you know. So when he looked at my name, he said, "Oh, your name looks like you are Muslim. So why you are gonna make a story like you know, since Jewish and Muslim has like you know the theoretical, the religious conflict, you know, by religious scripture, whatever. This is different." So he was wondering like why I would make this, and he also said maybe he has no knowledge of someone from Muslim background who made any Holocaust film. So I said, yeah, there are maybe some from Syrian, you know, people, some Muslims. They make documentaries actually. Also, those documentaries not, you know, for Muslims. You know, there were 60 prisoners in Auschwitz. They were Muslims, so they portrayed all these, you know. So yeah, I mean this was challenging for me because you know this is a period film and we shot entirely in New York State, the whole film, and one scene in New Jersey. So we had to do a lot of production design, you know, the every structure, even the buildings window we see, the European windows shape are different than the US. So we had to modify all these, you know, and we built set and every props and costumes and finding actors also who speak Yiddish, you know. This was like, I don't speak Yiddish. So this was challenging, you know. The film was shot in Yiddish, German, few lines in Polish and Hebrew Aramaic, the ritual verses. So Eva, we have Eva, actress. She played a role, Rabbatin, the wife of Rabbi. And Michael was Nazi, and actually he speaks German, so he got his lines. And Eva's grandmom used to speak Yiddish, so she forgot. But you know, we did a lot of rehearsals. All my actors, you know, so it came well because you know it was part of my MFA thesis. So my professors, everybody said, "Oh, you can't. Maybe you will be dropped out eventually because this is such a challenging project and very, very ambitious." I said, "You know, maybe you see, why did you say this is ambitious? Because of the content, or because I'm not making a Hollywood film and I'm like." And Holocaust, we see people are speaking, you know, characters are speaking in English.
Right.
You know, so I'm making very original. So people see, and Holocaust Museum, they screened that film, you know, and they appreciated that, you know, there was a Holocaust survivor, Maria, and she is like 93 years old, and she cried. She said, "The twin you have shown is," I feel like, because I had a twin sister and we escaped from France, and I was 10 years old by then. And I remember, you know, a scene, and my sister died because a Nazi shot, and we got the train, the last train, when Nazi occupied France. And my mom, dad, you know, traveled many countries and then got to the United States. So and she kissed my cheeks, you know, she was crying, and I think this was a, you know, I would say big achievement, anything, because I feel you, I feel every emotions there. That's why I made this film. And you know, I'm thankful that you guys chose this film, you know, to screen, even this is virtual. in this festival, and all our effort didn't go in vain, and thank you so much.
Oh, sure. Well, thanks for being in it, and thanks for making this film. Yeah, and it's interesting that it was shot in New Jersey. It could have been shot.
It was shot in actually New York, and one scene was shot in New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
Michael scene, Rebatine and Michael.
Oh, okay.
The twins,
Yeah, that evil Michael.
Yeah, right. Lucky.
Yeah, but I mean, the movie could have been shot anywhere. I mean, and with using the different languages, it really has an international, it really transcends, nationality. And anyway, thank you. Okay, and so we're kind of running out of time, but I do want to talk a little bit about feeling through again, a little more about feeling through. Doug, where did you find, oh my gosh, what the actor who's
Robert Tarango?
Yes, Robert Tarango. Where did you find him? Of course, when you see a movie with somebody with a disability, you wonder, did they hire somebody with that disability? I had no idea whether it was somebody just, who just studied up like Pierce did or whether they actually have that. And apparently he really is deaf and blind.
That's correct. Yeah. So again, knowing that we're short on time, I'll give the condensed version, but if y'all tune in at 1 p.m. on Monday at youtube.com/feelingthrough, because it'll give like kind of the really in-depth explanation of all of this. But in short, yeah, when I had the origin of this whole story starts back like 9 years ago when I met the deafblind person who was the first person I'd ever met in that community who inspired all this. And I go through all that, but it would be years later that I made some other things in the interim that I'd come back to this story and really feel like it was time to make it. And, knowing that there weren't really any deafblind actors, my first instinct was to start to reach out to the community and organizations of the community. Ended up aligning with the Helen Keller National Center, who we've now partnered with, each other for the last, almost 3 years in a lot of the ventures that have been around this. But they helped reach out to a lot of the community. We did a traditional like casting session at the center with as many deafblind individuals that were interested in being a part of this film. That we also did some remote auditions, which is a very interesting chain of communication when you're doing a remote audition with someone who's deafblind, having a tactile interpreter on their end and 2 interpreters on my side, one signing everything I'm saying and one voicing everything that's being said back, which is kind of emblematic of a lot of the real team that it took to make every element of this. But again, long story short, and this is all documented, part of the documentary portion, I was seeing a lot of people that day. I had casting list like any other audition, and Robert was not on that list. He works he was working in the cafeteria at Helen Keller National Center, and during one of the breaks in the schedule, someone in the room goes, "Hey, what about Robert who works in the kitchen? Like, do you think he'd be a good person to like audition for this?" And someone's like, "Yeah, you should see Robert." So I'm like, "Yeah, tell him to come in." And it was like one of those moments that I'm sure every director on here has had where like the actor walks in the room and you're just like, "Oh yeah, it's this guy," like for sure. So that was like one of the many kismet moments kind of throughout the whole journey of making the film.
Wow, that's amazing. I just, this applies to a lot of the movies that we're talking about today, but I just can't imagine what it would be like I think Ray Charles was always afraid of losing his hearing, because if you're blind and you lose your hearing too, good God, and I just never could imagine, okay, there's the miracle worker, but really, how often have we even seen a character like that in a movie, let alone in real life? And it's amazing. And the Stephen Prescott, who plays the young man who meets this person, and through his own kindness toward this person is blessed by, you know, by being kind. He's rewarded, you know, and in a very, you know, it's not in a maudlin way in the least. I mean, it rings so true, and it's beautifully told, which a lot of the movies involve kindness in some way. You know, whether it's that character's kindness, even the, you know, Tired Eyes, the fact that that club manager cuts when Emily's character says, "For God's sake, let us in," you know, and just cutting them a break is an act of kindness, you know. I mean, you know, with Kat's film, where a foster mother, out of kindness, inviting the central character to her own child's birthday, you know, they're all your films, to some degree, or in the face of Kaddish, the lack of kindness in a way, and although the kindness of the two men toward each other certainly is important. So, you know, I think that you guys are on the side of the angels with all of your films, and thank you for that. I wish we could talk more, because I you know, you guys, all of your films are so interesting, but I do want to thank, hopefully I'll get everybody, Bob and Steve and Ava and Pierce and Doug and Ryan and Miles and Kat and Cecil and Emily, Michael, Razid, and Ivanka.
Tim, I want to say one line to all my colleagues and friends.
Okay.
You know, and this is virtual, I know, so we don't meet in person, but I would be watching all your films. I will go by name. I took a note, you know, so I was taking note when we were talking, but I heard what you said, everything, you know, don't worry. And I know this would be, you know, these are lovely films, wonderful films. My film name is Kaddish. You can find online, like on Facebook, Kaddish the film. And you see my name, Razid Season. You can find me on Facebook as well. So who knows, we can collaborate in future. We can make more interesting stories, and maybe, you know, we have the same vision and same goal.
Right.
And thank you so much, Tim. And thank you so much, all of you. And thanks my actors, Eva and Michael, to be here.
Okay, well, I guess with that, we should call it a morning, or wherever you guys are. Thank you again so much. It's really a privilege to meet you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Nice to meet everyone.